keep breathing. Sentinels, we march to serve the Empire. We will defend the Broch. We will defend Elariel. We will prevent the spread of the Valorn. We are protecting the very souls of the nation. Make me proud. Nicastia Avicea of Phoenix Reach, General of the Citadel Guard. For close to 9 months now, the forest of Broceliande has been alive with malice. The Valorn, roused to wakefulness by a conspiracy of fallen Navarre and the twisted servants of Yornagrar, has been trying to spread its influence north and south into Borsdel and Elariel to take back what little ground the Navarre have managed to claim from it in the last 10 centuries, to infest the place they have cleansed of its influence. Each season, the force of the Valorn's urge to expand increases. Each season, it becomes a little more difficult to hold it back, to keep the safe places safe. This season is no different. The Valorn is not a thing of wishes or desires or designs, merely a green engine whose entire function is to exist. It has no real awareness of what it's doing. In place of conscious thought, it has only a vegetative need to spread, to propagate itself. Yet, its blind urges are not random. They are guided carefully by the hands of other beings who do have designs, desires, and wishes. Yornagrar's goals seem simple enough. To cover all the land in the green chaos of the Valorn. The ambitions of those heirs of Terranale who seem to work alongside her are less clear. So then, the 3rd season of war in the tangled depths of the largest and most dangerous of the Valorns that touch the Empire. Broceliande seethes with murderous intent. Valorn-spawn husk and ettercap, the miasma that shortens life and then quickens it again in the most malignant manner. The 100 twisted shapes of the plants that spawn and prosper beneath the Valorn's shadow, the heralds of spring and the heirs of Terranale, a host of foes, any one of which could lay the defenders of the Eastern Front to ruin. Just shy of 100 Imperial heroes and their warbands come to the aid of the people of Broceliande. Not all those warbands are natural. As before, there is a smattering of supernatural soldiers fighting under the trees. Peculiar knights of living shadow, raised from the weakened forests, armed and armoured against the horror of the Valorn. Some have been fighting here almost solidly since the crisis began. They are tired and drained, but still refuse to back down in the face of the destruction that their enemy represents. As before, though, those who fight to protect the steadings of Broceliande are not short of allies. The troubadours of dawn still sing the praises of any questing knight or knight-errant who comes to Broceliande seeking glory. The priests of Highguard continue to offer their aid in the form of pilgrims, guardians, and much-needed supplies. The sinister Poena of the Soft Voice, a powerful baroness of the Winter Realm, guides the barons and thralls and bone-armoured knights sent by the king on the bitter throne to fight alongside his mortal allies, even as their sovereign lord states his endless hunger on the herb gardens and forests of Navarre. Furthermore, during the spring equinox, brave bands of Imperial heroes were able to use the Sentinel Gate to reach Broceliande and strike decisive blows against the forces there, somewhat weakening the spread of the Valorn and buying valuable time for defenders to respond to the threats posed this season. Thanks to their courage, the Way House at Darkening Boughs has been transformed into a fortified sanctuary, providing respite to those travelling through the Valorn, and the Herald of the North Weaver Wood has been destroyed, preventing it from strengthening the terrible Valorn spawn attacking Borsdel. There are new allies as well. The call has gone out to the Spears of the Pine, the warriors of the great forest orcs, and they have come to Broceliande to fight alongside their friends. Perhaps as many as 1,000 orcs come to oppose the Valorn. Some of their number are actually natives of Broceliande, born and raised in Borsdel before their people returned to the Barrens in the wake of its fleeting liberation from the Druge. They possess a keen urge to look upon the northern lands that were home to themselves and their ancestors. Even those who have not been to Broceliande before treat the place with reverence. It is an old forest, after all. While much of it was formed in the wake of the fall of Terranale, there are places, particularly in the east, where the trees are as old as the forest of Paytat. Some of the orcs are particularly interested in visiting these places, but weep when they see the chaos that the Valorn has made of them. Shortly after the spring equinox, the largest group of allies to date arrives to fight to protect the Navarre. The Citadel Guard, the great army of Urizen, fresh from battle against the Druge in Morrow, bring the light they embody to the darkness beneath the spreading boughs of Broceliande. They stand ready to defend Elarael, freeing up other defenders to concentrate on protecting Borsdell. Yet even this army of sentinels and battle magicians is not enough to hold the Valorn back by themselves. They still need allies if they are to preserve the sanctity of the region. Those allies come in the form of the dead, the shambling, unliving corpses raised from those who fell in Morrow, a mixture of human and orc corpses given unnatural haunted life by dark winter magic. The husks fight the spawn of the Valorn at the behest of their Urizen masters. While they fight bravely against the horrors of the Valorn, they are also making magical preparations of their own, shoring up their reserves of mana crystals and seeking out nearby sources of magic. There is a great deal of fascination with the Valorn and its peculiar magics. There is little time for experimentation or arcane theory, but the Citadel Guard are able to uncover some fascinating details. First, they notice that something is sapping the strength of their husks. Any that venture into the areas of Valorn miasma are quickly destroyed, rotting away to nothing in a matter of minutes or hours. It seems that the winter magic that binds hungry spirits to the rotting flesh and also preserves the meat against natural decay is not a match for the power of the Valorn. Only a handful are lost this way, but the Urizen are confident that had they been fighting in the Valorn proper, then the murderous husks that fight alongside them would have proved to be useless. Second, they are intrigued to discover no sign of any wide-ranging spring magic in Broceliande. No rivers of life, and certainly no rivers run red. While they cannot rule out the possibility that such curses were used to help spark the current expansionist urge in the Valorn, there is no sign that the magic continues, or is any part of what is happening. In a way, perhaps this makes sense if the goal of those urging the Valorn to expand is to destroy Elarael and Borsdell, and to drive the Navarre out of Broceliande. It would make little sense to also provide healing energies that helped their victims to stay alive. Finally, they confirm what has long been suspected. There is a great deal of spring viz to be claimed in those places tainted by the Valorn, if one knows where to look. Even with all the aid they have received, even with all their efforts during the spring equinox, it is still close. The defenders hold easily during the first month. In the second, they begin to grow tired, and by the time of the summer solstice, their reserves are truly taxed. The strength of the Valorn is still increasing, still gathering momentum. The Vates, who have predicted that the worst is yet to come, are proved right once again. If they are entirely right, however, this will be the last time. The wave of the Valorn will crest, and if it can be resisted until the start of the autumn equinox, will finally break. If it can be resisted. Game information. Broceliande. The Valorn has been held back in Broceliande. As mentioned in the earlier Wind of Fortune, any Dornish character who supported the Slow the Valorn action receives additional rewards representing the support of the noble houses and villages of Astolat and Semaholm for those champions of Dawn who face the dangers of Broceliande. Likewise, the recent Highborn mandate has provided significant support to the defence of Broceliande in the form of additional warriors and support. That boon is not without its own drawbacks. The penalties to congregations will persist for one season after the benefits end. Tharim continues to feast on the forests and herb gardens of Hercynia, Thurunin, and Miarin. Each such resource loses a rank of production for the next year, but the Eternal will continue to provide support in Broceliande for that whole time, as long as he has amity, of course. Finally, the great forest orc warriors have arrived in Broceliande, and will continue to provide their support to the defence of the territory as long as their people in Thurunin remains safe. The Valorn of Broceliande has not finished with the Navarre yet, however. You can learn about the escalating threat in the winds of thought.